All right, how's it going, everyone? This is the week 4 construction update of building our Ryan home St. Lawrence, and very similar to the previous week, we have a lot of progress to report on. So in terms of what took place over the week, I would say a couple of the key things that you're now going to see in some of this drone footage are the fact that the basement slab has now been poured, along with the garage slab area as well. So of course, in order for this to be complete, that meant all of the basement plumbing rough-in work had to be finished prior to that. The moisture barrier was fully finished over the crushed stone. And so at this point, between the basement foundation walls and the slab for the floor now being poured, we can probably more so truly say we have a basement, at least compared to week 3. Now, the other key area of progress worth noting, and I did touch on this in the week 3 progress video that I will leave a link to above and in the description below that you can check out if you haven't seen that yet, is the fact that the structural support beams and columns are now fully in place on the build. So as you can see here, as we pan around the basement, we have a very long span that is joined by at least 2, maybe 3 different I-joists. And this span runs along the full rear of the home horizontally. And you also have a structural support span covering the front half of the home, ending at around where the stairs would be. So again, you can see the basement bathroom plumbing rough-in, the sump pump area there in the corner, the other area not too far from there, which I believe will be around where the tankless water heater will go. And again, a couple of those vents that are towards the front of the home. And so with all of this work, and additionally the sill plate that you can see on top of the basement foundation, we are now at the point where we are truly ready to start framing. And in this case, you're going to actually see some of the framing progress, which is going to be really cool here. So our PM let us know the fact that framing was possibly set to begin, weather dependent, in terms of what took place during the week. And so this footage was captured on Friday, December 20th. We weren't 100% sure if we'd be able to make it in time to beat a storm that was incoming in terms of rain, sleet, and snow. But needless to say, we happened to arrive at pretty much just the right time as the subcontractors began the framing process. So I'm going to have a lot of B-roll here from my camera, a little bit from my drone in terms of covering the framing aspect of things, but it is worth talking about some aspects around how framing and maybe the overall construction process is handled by Ryan and, at least as far as I'm aware, a lot of the major national builders here in the US. So of course, to begin the framing process, you need all of the different components for that. Everything from wall sections, roof trusses, floor joists, so on and so forth. And as you can see, as I pan around in this shot, I believe everything, and I truly do mean everything for the framing process, was delivered for the home during the course of the week. So framing for a builder like Ryan tends to look a little bit different than at least the average, say, local or custom home builder. Many of those cases, of course, you're dealing with stick construction, and being wood framed here in the US, that means pretty much board by board, timber by timber. They're going to assemble things like the walls, the roof, and that work will take place, say, over the course of some number of weeks. With a builder like Ryan, and I believe this is also true of a lot of the other major US home builders, so D.R. Horton, Toll Brothers, Lennar, they're going to utilize what I would call sort of a pre-engineered or prefabricated construction process that is going to be at least largely apparent and beneficial when it comes to the framing side of things. So what do I mean by that? Rather than necessarily having a wall section built board by board, having to frame out windows, having to put all of the boards 16 inches on center, nail them in, and build the wall piece by piece, you're going to see in this case an entire wall section delivered to the job site that is basically ready to just be nailed down and installed. So a lot of these major builders have sort of local construction plants. I believe the nearest one to this job site is in Burlington County, New Jersey, where they're going to basically pre-assemble all of the main framing components of the home. In this case, they're aware that site A039 in this community is building a St. Lawrence elevation L. And so for something like an exterior wall section, they can assemble all the 2x6s, put the OSB on the front of that for sheathing. Fortunately, I will say we're not using anything like thermoply here in the north. No offense if your home was built with thermoply, but separate aside, and not a fan of what passes code in some parts of this country. But needless to say, you're going to have that wall framed out, any rough-ins for the windows apparent, the OSB applied for sheathing. You're going to also have, in this case, and this actually surprised me when our PM told us this, the windows are going to be pre-installed in those wall sections, and you'll see in some of this B-roll footage here, the flashing already applied to the windows. Our PM did note that during this process, it is definitely not uncommon to find at least a few windows broken accidentally during the build process, and that it is something to be expected, so they usually have a fairly decent stock of additional windows on hand just for that. But again, with a major section of the build already pre-assembled like that, framers can therefore just install that wall panel and not have to do all of the more detailed work on site, which, as I may have noted already, again, we're in the dead of winter here. And so in this case, at least as far as these builders would tout, being able to build these components in a factory helps in terms of quality control, helps in terms of reducing errors and having to subject folks that are building these to the elements. Obviously, they can, of course, automate a fair amount of this construction process as well. So that is going to be, of course, a difference that you're going to find, say, compared to any conventional stick-built home, and ultimately is what allows Ryan to, I think, pretty much handle the framing process in a number of days, again, say, versus the case of a matter of weeks. So as you can see here, while we were on site, we're able to capture some of this process as they bring various parts of the wall sections, all the different lumber, closer to the build site to begin to work on it. So that's where we are with week 4 construction. We are now fully into the framing stage, and of course, this is when we're going to start to see the St. Lawrence actually look a lot more like a home. Now, a couple of things in terms of the next update you're going to see here on the channel. The next one is going to be a combination week 5 and week 6 update, and this is because of a couple reasons. Number one, as we head into the late December months here, we're coming up on the holidays, and so for Christmas, for New Year's, so on and so forth, we're going to have a little less activity taking place during the course of those weeks, so figured it would make sense to combine those 2 weeks construction-wise. And number two, Ariel and I are going to be away for part of this period, so we're expecting when we return, we're going to see something that looks a lot more, and I really do mean a lot more, like an actual house. Now, I hope this video has been of some help to you. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if it has. Of course, if you have any questions or thoughts, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Are you building a Ryan home or any other type of home with a new builder? Anything to mention that you've noticed in terms of your construction process or where you are throughout all of the different phases of construction? Always interested to hear from all of you. I've had a couple of interesting discussions in the comments up until now. A lot more to come on the channel, so of course, stay tuned for those updates. For now, that is all I have to say. So thanks for watching.